Hi everybody, it's John back again with another model final reveal video. This is another Matchbox kit that's from their purple range. This is PK number 7, the Westland Lysander Mark II. Now, I've never built this kit before, and this kit was my entry into the UK Scale Modelers World War II group build. And I did manage to get it in time. I was actually quite honoured to be invited to build something on this group build. I've never built anything for any of Ian's group builds before, and I'll certainly be looking out for group builds in the future that he's hosting. I think he does a number of interesting model subjects for group builds. It's not just your general run-of-the-mill World War II propeller piston head people, you know. A lot of the stuff is quite interesting that he does. The Matchbox Lysander. Well, I've got quite a lot to say about the Matchbox Lysander. I'll just show you the underside of this aircraft because I want you to see that it's actually in Bomber Command colours, even though the aircraft was never part of Bomber Command. The aircraft, the Lysander, was actually an Army Corporation aircraft, which was often seconded to an RAF airbase, but the aircraft were used in covert operations and light liaison tasks, and were very seldom in RAF service. They were usually in Army Corporation service, usually putting covert agents behind enemy lines. So the Lysander, it did a very important job during World War II. Lysanders were also difficult to locate, because what they used to do was they used to gun the engines right down when flying below 500 feet, and then you just couldn't hear them when they were very low and landing, but you obviously could hear them because the radial engines made a lot of noise at full power when the aircraft were taking off. But these aeroplanes would land behind enemy lines in France and drop agents in their covert operations. And the Matchbox Lysander is one of the most accurate 72nd scale Lysander kits on the market, and that is stated not just by me, it's actually stated by an awful lot of the professional and pro builders and reviewers online. They love the Matchbox Lysander. And when you look at the competition that was out there, you had the Airfix first tooling of the Lysander, which was absolutely diabolical. You had the Frog kit, which was probably one more step up the staircase from the Airfix kit. And that was pretty much about it. And when this kit was released in 1972 as part of their first 19 models in their purple range, when Matchbox went online, the Lysander really took the market by storm. And it's a lovely kit. And it actually prompted Airfix to retool the Lysander and release it as a Series 1 kit in about 1974, very quickly after the Matchbox kit was released. But they made a very, very drastic error in moulding the wings aerofoil upside down. If you don't believe me, there are a number of online references to this in professional builders' reviews. It clearly states that the aerofoil on the Airfix new tool kit, which was released in 1974, I believe, is moulded upside down. So the Matchbox kit, if you're after a very good rendition of the Matchbox, sorry, of the 72nd scale Lysander, the Matchbox kit is pretty good. Just going to show you the detail on the engine there, because the engine assembly is actually quite nice. It actually has a reasonably detailed engine. And unlike most Matchbox models in 72nd scale, the cockpit is actually quite detailed. I'm hoping you can see quite a bit of the detail that's going on in there. But you've got two pilots, sorry, a pilot and a rear gunner, and a fully detailed interior with the support struts for the wings, and a proper cockpit floor, and a reasonably detailed engine, and the propeller does go round. You also get a set of bombs on this particular aircraft, but I didn't want to utilise them because I wanted the aircraft clean in Army Corporation colours for covert missions. which a lot of them were painted up in Bomber Command colours and camo patterns, where they were matte black underneath and green and brown on the upper surfaces. But some later in, well, it's not later, but 1941, 1942, some of them were completely black all over. And the early aircraft, 1939 to 1940, they had similar colours to RAF Fighter Command Spitfires and Hurricanes, and they were often painted duck egg green underneath. Some were even painted underneath silver, with silver under surfaces to the wings. Some of them were duck egg green camouflage on the undersides of the fuselage, and some of them were camouflage green and brown wrapped fuselages with silver wings. So it's interesting that a lot of camo patterns are out there that are quite, they're quite diverse. But I wanted this one because this was the most common camo pattern colour used for the Lysander during the World War II, when they were dropping agents behind enemy lines around about 1942 to 1944, up to D-Day really. The Lysander was still being heavily used right up to about a month after D-Day, with the extraction of agents, not dropping them in. The extraction of agents became more important to bring them back than what it was to put them in, obviously, because D-Day and the landings were all underway. The agents weren't required as often, and it wasn't as important to have agents behind enemy lines anymore with land forces in place. So that's the Matchbox Lysander. Would I recommend this kit? Yeah, I would recommend this kit. It was quite an enjoyable build. I only had one real issue with it, and that was fitting the wings together. I had to change my usual method of putting canopies in place, and you'll see that when you see the build progress video. I had to actually build a fuselage and then paint the interior sections of the wings where they glue together, and then paint the canopy, and then construct the canopy to the fuselage, and then put the wings into the fuselage, and then use the support struts to jig everything in place. And it worked quite well. But I did have an issue with the way the wings glued together. I had to open it all up because when you put the struts in place, you have to be very careful about the join in between the canopy there. And I had to put that back in place, which was a shame. Anyway, that's the Matchbox Lysander. Hope this video has been of some use. If you have any comments, questions, any queries, pop them in the comments slot. I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. And I hope all your I hope all your modelling projects are going smooth. And thanks for tuning in and watching this video. I'll see you for the next one. Bye bye for now.